Yeah. 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 So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest, not a bit of accomplice or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge, they don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like, wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because their agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifting. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.
Hello, everyone. It is Pam Esquire, also known as Your Law Intellect. Happy Wednesday. I hope you guys had a fantabulous day. We have some things to get into related to Bond on some of our favorite rappers that we have been covering for the last year or so. I see Michi in the house. Look at Michi. Michi was one of the ones that came in the chat when we first started learning about Melly because we had no clue. When we started covering the YNW Melly trial, all of us, old heads, I might as well just say, I'm admitting my music is old school at this point. I was in denial for a very, 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 very long time. But after this Melly trial, it was like, who are these people? Who is YNW? What does that stand for? Who are these rappers? I was like that with Tory Lanez too. So I am officially an old head when it comes to music. And Michi was one of those that got on there and made us all feel like we weren't as old as we were. He got on there every single day when we were streaming that trial, and he would let us know who the folks were, where they was living at, who their mamas was, their daddies was, all the stuff that was on the internet. So shout outs to Demetrius over there in these comments. We appreciate you, Michi. We appreciate you, and it's good to see you. That's a part of what we call the Melly crew, because we were all every day, 4 days a week for a month. We were streaming this trial, and it just created a whole different community and crew. But anyway, for all of you guys, thank you to everybody that is in here with us today. I am so animated. I don't know why today. But anyway, welcome to everyone, to all of our new subscribers. Welcome. Welcome. Let us know if you're a new sub so that you can be greeted properly by our mods. And to all the people that have been following me for a while now, welcome back. But we have a few things that we're going to get into that I thought was very interesting. But let me speak to a few of you guys. Hey, Linda, thank you so much for your support. Zarita, Sharon, you guys see the instructions from the mods. Cupcake, thank you so much for being on your post, on your usher door. She is our head usher right now. The Devanir. Hey, I hope I didn't mess your name up. I am good for messing names up over here. My son calls me all the time. Like when I was covering that last video about the football player from the blind side, he's like, Mom, can you please call this man's last name Or? His last name is not her or whatever you're saying. I was like, I was just pronouncing it. I'm sorry about that. Because I have a friend whose last name is Or, and she don't spell it like that. So I was like, it got to be something else. So excuse me if I mess your name up. I apologize. And I definitely like to learn it if you want to break it down for me. Hey, Rhodey, Stacy, thank you so much. Miss Bees, thank you, much better. Jeff, thank you so much. Andree, what's up, Andree? Andree left a long message in our comments. Andrew, we appreciate all of your commentary. And it was a lot of people that enjoyed you giving the background because everybody, you know me, I'll say go back to the videos. Like, you want me to start all over from scratch? No, go back to the videos and go see what's going on with this and this and this. But Andrea came on and she so graciously gave us a lot of backdrop when it came to the Tory Lanez, Megan Thee Stallion, and some people appreciated, and apparently some people didn't. So she decided she wanted to apologize. But you don't have no need to apologize. We appreciate your commentary. So don't feel that way. Ali, good to see you. SNL, good to see you. Hey, Chef Don Don. Hey, really beat. Hey to all the tribe that came over here. We were just over there on Really B's platform. Annette. Okay. Lady D, Tracy, Lil Baby, all you guys that came over here, thank you so much for supporting. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe if you have not done so already. We have a good time over here. We do things from the legal side, so sometimes it might get a tad bit boring, but I try to spice it up a little bit. Oftentimes people go by articles. I go and try to get the original documents. And today is no different. Thank you so much, Stacy, that first twin. So I guess that you came out first. You like, how many minutes apart are you from your twin? Thank you so much for becoming a member. You guys, yes, please go over to the membership. I do drop certain things over there, certain hearings. I give the heads up. If I know about hearings that might be online over there on membership, I also drop some documents over there every now and then. Today, I did drop something on Brandon Belmonte because something dropped related to him yesterday. So I put it in the membership. Thank you so much for becoming a member. I appreciate your commitment to this channel. Hi, Ronald. Hey, Miss V. Hey, Xavier's. Okay, let's get started. I think we've wasted enough time on the preliminaries. You guys know that I appreciate each and every one of you guys. So if I didn't get a chance to shout you out, I apologize. So we have a few things that we need to cover today. The first one, we are going to talk about YNW Melly. For those of you that don't know, I'm going to do a brief summary because, like I said earlier, you can go back to the videos to find out about YNW Melly. So a month or so ago, there was a trial by it's a rapper out of Florida whose name is YNW Melly. Thank you, Natty, for becoming a member. His name is YNW Melly. YNW stands for Young in Ninja World, and that's their moniker, I guess. So they have like YNW Bortland, YNW Juvie, YNW Sack Chaser, YNW B Slime. So that's like their moniker. So YNW Melly was kind of one of the originators. Well, he was one of the originators of the group, a rapper. He is accused of unaliving two of his best friends, YNW Juvie and YNW Sack Chaser. Now, YNW Bortland was the driver of the vehicle, and what he's alleging is that YNW Melly wasn't even in the car and that it was a drive-by. And that's how they were unalived. Well, after the investigators down in Florida did their investigation, they came to the conclusion that it couldn't have been a drive-by the way all of the ballistics went. It had to be a shooting within the vehicle. And they had video of all of these young men leaving the studio that night. And on the left side in the back seat was YNW Melly. And then they had, I don't remember if it was Juvie that was next to him or Sack Chaser, but one was in the front seat and one was in the back seat. Bortland was driving. So it was the prosecution's theory that essentially YNW Melly unalived two of his best friends, which we were all like, why would he do such a thing? So anyway, it went to trial. We watched it every single day. He had a great team of attorneys, which when people keep comparing it to Tory Lanez, which we'll be talking about next, it makes a difference. And you will see why there was a difference in the outcome. But anyway, there was a hung jury. There was a hung jury in this case. If you guys recall, when it was a hung jury, one of the things I said was they were probably going to come back and try to ask for a bond. and now they feel like they have a reason because there was a hung jury, which means that the prosecution did not prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, and that would be part of their rationale. Well, as predicted, I believe it was yesterday, YNW Melly, who, by the way, he had a lawyer who we call DLK. I don't even know if I know his real name at this point. I don't even know if I know. We called him DLK. He was the only black attorney on his team. He's been replaced by, I believe, two other non-melanin attorneys who are supposed to be good attorneys. I looked them up at one point where they have one of them has a history of dealing with death penalty cases, which is what this type of case is, and he's been successful. So we'll see how the strategy changes. I can't say I'm a stream at this time, but I'm definitely going to be watching if I don't go down there and watch it in person, because it was really, really an interesting trial, and it was to watch the legal minds and the brilliance and everything, in my opinion, that was going on. I was quite impressed. I can always learn. I learned a lot from the trial as an attorney, and even on strategy and skills. It was good. But anyways, yesterday his attorneys filed a motion for bond. So they want a bond hearing, which is called actually an Arthur hearing, is what they're called. And an Arthur hearing, for those who, this is a motion to set bond, and this was filed, of course, by his attorneys. And what an Arthur hearing is so usually when a person is charged with offense that's punishable by like life in prison or other serious type crimes, when a defendant is arrested, they're considered non-bondable. So that's considered like a non-bondable offense, and the law presumes that the defendant should remain in jail pending trial. So I was wondering why, as you guys know, YNW Bortland is also charged, but he got a bond. And people were saying it's because he didn't have a record and all of that. But no, they do have it where you're not supposed to get a bond for these type of charges, it's presumed. So if a person is arrested for a non-bondable offense, they have the right to ask for what's called an Arthur hearing. The purpose of the hearing is where a judge can determine whether a person should be released pending trial. So an Arthur hearing is like a mini trial. And with the exception that you don't have a right to a jury, there's a judge that is going to ultimately make the decision. So to be granted a bond, your defense attorney basically has to persuade the judge that your charges do not have significant enough evidence to prove that you're guilty, and also that you're not a danger to the community or, of course, at risk to flee. So that's pretty much what an Arthur hearing is, for those of you guys that, want to know what one was before I started reading this paper. So this is the motion that was filed by the defense, and it has that the defendant, Jamil Demons, and that was another thing. You guys know you spell demon, Demon. So that was a big thing during this trial, to make sure that it wasn't a mispronunciation of his last name, because he's saying it's pronounced Demons, like dim the light, or Demons lemons, like that's supposed to be what it is. But it clearly, to me, spells demons. But I can see why you wouldn't want a jury to look at that, and you're being accused of unaliving two people that are your best friend. That does seem a bit demonic, right? So anyways, I digress. So it said he's charged in a superseding indictment with 2 counts of first-degree murder with a firearm that occurred on or about 26th day of October 2018, that on February 8th, 2019, the Miramar Police Department issued an arrest warrant authorizing the arrest of the defendant on the above mentioned charges. That 5 days later, on February 13th, 2019, the defendant voluntarily surrendered to the authorities at the Broward County Jail and has remained in custody since that time. So he has been in jail since February 13th, 2019. So he's been in jail for 4.5 years, awaiting a conviction or an acquittal. that the defendant commenced trial on the cause on April 11, 2023, and this court declared a mistrial on July 22nd, 2023, because the jury could not reach a unanimous verdict. Now, it says that the trial was commenced on April 11th, but that's when they did jury selection. So they had a process, and it took a while for jury selection, and then we were the ones that we started watching this, in June? Because when they told us it was going to be till the end of July, I was like, listen, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to hang with you guys every day, but I'm definitely going to try. And we did make it to watch it together most of the days. It was times I had to leave off and go do depositions and other stuff, but we still were able to get through it. That the defendant has remained in custody over 4 years and has never requested a bond hearing, an Arthur hearing, until now. So he never even requested a hearing according to them. That the co-defendant that has been charged with the same charges, first degree, and additional 2 counts of accessory after the fact, has been out on custody on bond. So then it has the memo. Although the defendant is charged with non-bondable offenses, the court has the discretion to grant bail even in capital cases. And that's the State v. Harper. If anybody wants to look that up, 390 SO 2nd, 717. Florida, it's a 1980 case. Since the criteria for denial of bond is that the proof of guilt is evident and the presumption great, and that defendant committed the crimes charged, the defendant submits that he must be granted reasonable bail. In fact, the proof evident presumption great standard is stronger than proof beyond a reasonable doubt to deny a defendant a bond. And that's in State v. Thursby. And Cosino versus Jenny, the court ruled that before a trial court can deny bail, the state must carry the burden of establishing that the proof of guilt was evident and the presumption great that the defendant committed the aforementioned crimes. In this case, the state obviously failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt the defendant committed the crimes of first-degree murder when this court declared a mistrial on July 22nd, 2023, because the jury could not reach a unanimous verdict. Since the standard of proof to deny defendant bond and bail is the highest standard of proof, proof is evident and presumption is great, and the state failed to do so, the defendant is entitled to a bond. Wherefore, the defendant respectfully prays this honorable court grant this motion and set reasonable bond. So I know there's a status hearing that is scheduled for this Friday. I don't know when this Arthur hearing is actually going to take place, but that is what is going on with Melly. As assumed, he is trying to get out on bond. So what do you guys think? Do you think that because obviously the person, as they said, that was in the car and drove the bodies to the hospital, he's being charged with the same thing plus 2 additional counts, and he's out on house arrest? Melly just went through the entire trial process and they couldn't find him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So he's saying that he should get a bond. I don't know if the judge gonna get him one, but what you guys think? Michi said no. You know what, Andrew? You don't think the community is safe if he gets let out? Is that what you saying? So y'all said no, he need to stay where he at. Okay. Y'all make sure you hit this like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. It's 240 you guys. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. We are talking all things bond today. And I just wanted to get Melly's situation out of the way for all of the people that love and follow this whole Melly trial and this whole Melly situation and the whole YNW crew. So as soon as I find out what the court determines, then I'm going to let you guys know what that is. But in our next order of business, so you guys know, and I'm gonna need some of y'all to stay out my comments with this Tory Lanez stuff. I got it today. That man innocent. He should be free. He should be free. That man innocent. Where a jury found him guilty, okay? And until he finds some new evidence or something that warrants a new trial, that's just kind of what it is. You guys don't have to go off on me. I was not, even though I said I was a self-proclaimed juror, I really was not. I was just a spectator. I don't have nothing to do with that, okay? All right. So if you guys want to say free Tory, that's cool. But like, go buy the shirts. I have it posted on my community wall. He is selling shirts that say free Tory. You can support your homeboy. That's the way you could support him. So for those of you that don't know about Tory Lanez, he is a Canadian rapper who has paved his way here in the United States. And he was the person that was convicted and sentenced recently, where he has to do 10 years for possession of a firearm and shooting Meg the Stallion, or Megan Pete is her government name. Well, when I was in court a week ago, because I was there in LA and I was reporting live like I was the news station. When I was there, let me see. Let me take him down for a second. When I was there, I know that after Jose Baez, and you know I'm about to, Jose, I got to, because see, Jose does the most. But anyway, after he did his long Lifetime Achievement Award speech, Lady Tonya died. Yes, he is selling t-shirts. He absolutely is selling t-shirts. But anyway, after Jose Baez, and you guys have to watch my video on that. Jose Baez, if you guys don't know, was hired. He's the attorney that represented Casey Anthony. He also represented Hernandez, the one that was he ended up unaliving somebody. I think he got him off for that, but then he did a whole nother trial and was convicted. So he was doing life, and then before he was sentenced, he went on ahead and offed himself, I guess, because it was something about if you die before your sentence, then you die an innocent person. And so somehow I guess that would help his family get money. He had some strategy on why he did it. But anyways, those were the people that come to mind that he represented. He also represented Harvey Weinstein, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. So Jose Baez came in after Tory was convicted. So first it was Kenner who came in. He was a part of the whole Johnny Cochran era with Johnny Cochran. And then suddenly he was gone. He was only in there. They announced him for a good 30 days. And then it was Jose Baez. Now, the first thing I said was, why is Jose Baez coming on this team? And he is a trial attorney. He is not an appellate attorney. This man needs a post-conviction attorney or an appellate attorney to deal with if he's going to do a motion for a new trial, or if he's going to try to appeal if there's some appealable issues, which I don't really see, but sometimes you got to go with it. So if that's what you plan on doing, then that's what you need to hire, is somebody that does that. So he hires Jose Baez. The first thing we see him do is all of these, they immediately, I think it was Kenner that got the gag order lifted, because Tory Lanez was on a gag order because he was out here wilding on these social media streets, which is one of the reasons why he had a aggravating factor that made him in the mid-range where he was at for his sentencing, because he was out here after the incident and stuff. He was out here in these social media streets wilding out. So a gag order was put out so he couldn't talk. Well, the gag order was one of the first things that his attorney requested lifted. I think that gag order was off of him for probably 48 hours before we started seeing things on the Shade Room where he challenged the DNA evidence. And the first person I seen that did it was Jose Baez, had it in his stories where he talked about the DNA evidence. And then it ended up on the Shade Room. Then we had Tory Lanez, who wrote the letter to the head DA. That was on the Shade Room. Then he did a voice recording that I played to you guys where he was calling out the DA, saying that they had hid exculpatory evidence, just all this stuff. Then you have Jose Baez, who also filed a motion to try to get rid of the judge to say that he was biased. You came from Florida, you're pro hoc vice and you're there on permission because you're not licensed there. You're not a part of their bar. And you filed this motion. So the first thing I said was, what? Like, what is he doing? What was his purpose? I just didn't understand his purpose. I get it. People want high profile people when really locally, it probably has some beasts that would have helped Tory better. But that's just my opinion. But nevertheless, Jose Baez comes in to do this sentencing that was postponed about 4 times, literally, before it happened. So he comes in, he puts on this whole slideshow about how great Tory is, all of that. So, of course, it was a 2-day show. And then after the second day, the judge sentenced him and said, you get six years for count 1 in state prison. You have a 4-year enhancement because it involved a gun. And you get 2 years for count 2, but it's going to be concurrent. So it runs at the same time. And 2 years for count 3 stayed. So Jose Baez really didn't do anything. But when it was all said and done and all the counts came down and his sentencing and Tory gets whisked back away by the depths, Jose Baez said that he was going to file a motion for bond pending an appeal. So he was going to do basically what they're doing in the Melly trial. He was going to do a motion for bond. Well, apparently yesterday, there was a hearing that the judge set. However, according to the docket, there were no appearances that showed up. And apparently, from what I can see, there was never any motions filed in order to get a bond. There were no motions. Now, that doesn't mean Jose Baez may not do it sometime in the future. But I'm just saying, he was very clear when we left last week that he wanted the court to entertain bond pending his appeal. There has been nothing that has been filed. Listen, you said it, not me. But what I will tell y'all, and I don't know, Tory, did you know this? Tory, y'all should have known this before this happened. Jose Baez represented Harvey Weinstein, who is currently suing Jose Baez and his firm for their money back. For the things that I was complaining about, they are alleging in a complaint. And I have that complaint for you guys. So, and Jose Baez, so they filed this is the case, okay? This is Harvey Weinstein versus Jose Baez, doing business as the Baez law firm and Baez and Medina's and Associates and Michelle Medina, which I think is the partner. Okay. So let's just see why he is suing him. So let's go to the background. On or about January 16, 2019, defendant Jose Baez entered into an agreement to provide plaintiff Harvey Weinstein with legal services in connection with the criminal proceeding in the Supreme Court of the state of New York. For those of you that don't know about Harvey Weinstein, he's an older white guy that was accused of doing all type of inappropriate stuff in the actress actor realm, like in television. Upon information and belief, Baez was admitted to practice in the state of New York pro hoc vice, subjecting him to the New York rules of professional conduct in the jurisdiction of the state of New York in connection with the legal services provided to Weinstein. So just like with Tory, because Jose Baez is licensed in Florida. That's where the Casey Anthony case happened. He's licensed in Florida. He has pro hoc vice, which means one time only what we can do. Like people that say you can't practice in other states. If you're in good standing if I know somebody in another state and they are licensed there, I can ask them to sponsor me. And if I am in good standing within my own state or with other states that I'm licensed in, 9 times out of 10, they're going to let me go in pro hoc vice, which means one time only. So I'm only allowed in for this specific case. And every time you do that, you go, you have to fill out the forms for every state. Now, it used to be you only can do it 5 times out of the year. I don't know if that has changed, but I know when I started, that's pretty much the time. And that's usually about how many times I use it. It's around 5 times a year. But this is how he's able to go into other states and how people grab him up. And I'm sure it pays even better when you're going out of state because they got to pay for your stay, your travel, all of that. Because in a case I had here, it was a boxing case that I had. I had a attorney that came from New York who was very integral in that boxing area. One of the few, like that's all he specializes in it. So I had him come on board, and you got to pay for all of that stuff when they come from out of town. So I'm just saying. So, pursuant to the engagement, Baez agreed to work on a fee for service basis together with co-counsel Ronald S. Sullivan through, quote, the end of trial and post-trial proceedings. So he was supposed to do the end of trial and he was going to do the post-trial with Weinstein. That means his motion for a new trial, perhaps his appellate work in his retainer. That's what he was going to do in exchange for $2 million paid in monthly installments of $200,000. At Baez's insistence, the engagement contained the following misleading and unlawful non-refundable retainer description. Payment is non-refundable, which is expressly prohibited by 22 New York CRR Part 1200 Rule 1.5D4. That's the New York Rules of Professional Conduct. Baez's insistence to include the non-refundable retainer in the engagement was non-negotiable and thus constitutes professional misconduct. And then it has all the time the engagement violated the rules. Then it has Baez failed to provide Weinstein with a statement of the client's rights and responsibilities, which was contrary to their rules. Baez's failure to include a statement of client's rights and responsibility constitutes professional misconduct. Weinstein tendered to Baez the sum of $1 million as consideration for the agreed legal services. During the course of the engagement, Baez was inter alia regularly preoccupied with other matters, regularly unavailable to communicate to Weinstein, and not directly involved with the compilation, investigation, research, and drafting of various high priority substantive legal work, which was substantially delegated to other non-Baez law firm attorneys such as Ronald S. Sullivan Jr. As such, on May 22nd, 2019, Weinstein requested Baez to produce an accounting of the time and work spent on the case, to which Baez refused. On or about May 10, 2019, Ronald Sullivan withdrew from Weinstein's case, whereby Baez represented and affirmed his unconditional commitment to continue the engagement through trial. On or about the same time, despite Baez's affirmed commitment to continue the engagement, Baez began threatening to withdraw from Weinstein's case. Baez's threats to withdraw were coupled with a demand for an immediate payment of the additional $1 million contrary to the engagement. Thereafter, Baez refused to provide any substantive or meaningful legal services to Weinstein in contravention of the engagement and to Weinstein's detriment. On or about June 14, 2019, Baez made an application to the court to withdraw from Weinstein's case. Weinstein with Baez said, "I'm out." On July 11, 2019, Baez withdrew from Weinstein's case. At no point during the engagement did Baez ever provide Weinstein with any invoices, bills, or any accounting whatsoever illustrating an earned legal fee despite due demand. On September 17, 2020, this office requested Baez to produce time records substantiating the retention of Weinstein's $1 million payment to Baez. On October 23rd, 2020, Michelle Medina produced an Excel spreadsheet charging Weinstein $1,028,227.50, which purport to represent earned legal fees. I'm doing this thing wrong, y'all. I have been doing this thing wrong. The Medina spreadsheet contains time entries and hourly rates that violate New York law to the extent they are not authorized, not contemporaneous, rounded estimates, duplicative, block billed, and vague. The Medina spreadsheet was created on September 24, 2020, in response to and only after Weinstein's September 17th final demand, well after the fact. Thus, the Medina spreadsheet was clearly designed to unlawfully retain Weinstein's $1 million refundable payment. The Medina spreadsheet charges or collects a fee based on fraudulent billing, which is expressly prohibited by, and it got the rules. The Medina spreadsheet charges or collects an excessive or illegal fee or expense, which is expressly prohibited. Medina's creation and issuance of the Medina spreadsheet constitutes professional misconduct as defined by 22. There goes the rules. On January 29, 2021, this office issued a letter to Medina objecting to Medina's spreadsheet and requesting a refund on behalf of Weinstein. To date, Medina and Baez have refused to provide any meaningful response to the aforementioned objection, the Medina spreadsheet. Therefore, Baez's retention of Weinstein's $1 million payment constitute professional misconduct, a breach of the engagement, a breach of Baez and Medina's fiduciary duty on Weinstein, conversion, unjust enrichment, an impermissible and unethical retention of an illegal, non-refundable fee payment further induced by the fraudulent Medina spreadsheet. Despite demand, Baez has refused to refund of Weinstein's $1 million. So then he goes to all the counts. So he got breach of contract, he got conversion, unjust enrichment, quantum merit, refund of unearned legal fees, breach of fiduciary duty. We on count 7, deceptive acts and practices. Count 8 is fraud. And then that's it. So what he's asking on the first cause, he's asking a judgment for $1 million. So he asking for his $1 million back. He said he want his money back. So this is still going on. That's the crazy part. It's still going on because Weinstein now has filed a motion for summary judgment. He's filed the motion. So of course, Baez answered. Generally, he just denied the claims, but they filed a motion for summary judgment, basically saying that they are entitled to judgment as a matter of law. And I think their facts. I think their facts are similar to the facts they put in the complaint. Yeah, it's pretty much similar. So they're asking for judgment as a matter of law. But what was interesting to me about this is when they mentioned the outside individuals on the Tory Lanez case, allegedly, because I wasn't there. But according to what I heard was when that motion was filed for a new trial, he had one of his associates argue that motion, which had just been hired. Like, I don't even know if it was even, she was there for a year. So it was a newer associate that was arguing something of this magnitude. One of the things that Baez also mentioned was that Tory was running out of cash in his sentencing. So I'm just saying, for all you Tory fans, Baez ain't filed nothing yet for your boy to get out on bond. Not that he probably will anyway. I don't think he'll get out. But that is the difference. And people keep comparing. They keep comparing like Melly. Yes, you have to look at it too. When it comes to Melly, we seen information and evidence that the jury didn't see. When they had sidebars, we heard them. When they argue, we heard them as the public. The jury was secluded in a room. They didn't hear it. So his attorneys objected when you were supposed to object it. They got as much out as they couldn't, whatever they could keep out, they did it, and they're on it. It was, and in the beginning, they didn't try to shift the burden of proof. They didn't shift it and say, we're gonna prove that Kelsey did it. They didn't say we're gonna prove that so and so did. Now they did say you're gonna see that the investigation was botched. But that's it. You can generally say that. Pay attention to the investigation. But on the Tory case, like, you guys shifted the whole burden of proof. So all I'm saying is, again, the Baez stuff is just allegations. You guys read my disclaimer. Anybody can file a complaint and say whatever. But it just sounded very eerily similar, in my opinion, to what's happening to y'all boy. You see? Sounds like they want to get his law license snatched. You said get us. No. That's all I'm saying. We hear about Casey Anthony, and again, first of all, that was years ago. And I actually, now that I'm a lawyer, I think I want to revisit to see how that even happened at this point. But I think they just gave an alternative, and the jury was like, well, it is an alternative, so maybe it is reasonable doubt. But to see, when you see Jose Baez in person, like, argue, it's cool to allocute your client, which means to stay up there and say that they're goodness and they're great. But I felt like I was on the Soul Train Music Award and he was getting a Lifetime Achievement Award. That's what it felt like. Now, it was good to hear at first when I was like, oh, he gives to all these people. Okay, that's nice. He seemed like he's a genuinely cares about people. But after a while, it was like, okay, so when are we gonna have some type of contrition? Like, when are we gonna act like we just hate that this even happened? When are we gonna get to what we here for? It just never got to that point. And again, I believe personally the judge just let all of this play out, but he already knew what he was gonna do anyway. Well, Will's kid said deport him. Okay. He said deport him. He don't care about him getting played out of all his money. Well, the thing with Weinstein, yeah, he ended up getting convicted, but Jose Baez did not represent him through the trial. He withdrew from his case. So how do you get like $1 million, over $1 million, and you ain't even go through trial? I think he had a whole different attorney. That's why I didn't even know until I ran into this that Jose Baez was even connected to Weinstein. Because I was like, I didn't remember that he represented him, but that's probably why, because he did it towards the beginning and then maybe didn't follow through with the entire thing. So, yeah, he's the main head of why the Me Too movement. Okay. So anyway, y'all, let me see. Child, that's what it sounded like. Did somebody get up there and they're like, I just can't believe out of all the people I've ever represented, I've just never seen anybody that done so much good in this world. I mean, people were just coming from all over the state. They literally had a whole presentation where they were going, like, showing the airplane, like, for instance, going from Florida to Michigan, or from Michigan, and then showing him doing this water thing in Michigan. Then it was having him go from Michigan to Texas. Then it had they had that in the PowerPoint. It was going from one spot to the next in the airplane, showing all the places that he went and how he was helping people. It was definitely like a lifetime achievement award. I'm not joking. Like you felt like, and that's what the prosecution got up and they were like, I don't know, like, should he get the man of the year award? Like, what are we doing here? And then the judge said, now almost your whole presentation was about all of his philanthropy. This is your basically that's all you really talking about. And you don't want him away from his kid and all of that. That was your whole argument, really. And so it was looked more like PR than like lawyering, in my opinion. But and then the judge to say, I'm going to give him, even though I don't have to, because that's not a part of what the law requires. I'm going to give him a little bit of weight for his philanthropy, but it ain't going to be much. So how does your whole speech dang near rely on his work, but the judge isn't even going to really put that much consideration to it? And said it. His main consideration why he probably didn't get a little bit more than he could have, the mitigating circumstances, was that he didn't have a past record. That was his biggest mitigating circumstance. The prosecution and Casey Anthony didn't really give a narrative as to what happened to the baby. They were too busy trying to prove Casey was a liar. Okay. Got it. Now you probably right. I don't even remember. I just remember all of the commentary. Nancy Grace. Remember Nancy Grace called her top mom? She'd be like, and top mom. I kind of miss her show. And she was so dramatic, and she couldn't, but she said, in a turn of events, I cannot believe this. Casey Anthony, top mom, has been found not guilty. She was so dramatic. And she was a former prosecutor, so I could imagine Nancy Grace. That's who they need over there on that Melly trial. They need Nancy to come up out of retirement and go ahead and try to be the prosecutor over there. I love her too. She called a thing, didn't she, y'all? Nancy Grace would call you up out your name. She made up nicknames like how we were doing DLK. She make up nicknames. Nancy did not care. And she did not play. Sunstar effed up when he choked. Well, what was Sunstar gonna say? What you think Sunstar was gonna say that would have helped his son? Because honestly, part of his alleged problems, honestly, is his childhood. So even in the sentencing memo, there were times where I guess he was homeless. So they were staying with I think it was Tory's grandmother on the paternal side, and he was bad and they kicked him out. So he was from pillar to post. So and I was wondering how his dad, the way they talked about his childhood and how he was homeless and all of that. To me, that's like, how do you not look at a parent when they're a minor? But he got up there and, they all blamed it on his mom passing away when he was 11, and that was the reason why he was going through what he was going through. And then lied about an alcohol disorder when not one soul, child. Not one person. Did you guys know too, speaking of Tory, that Tory was going to have another lawyer named Rhonda that was going to represent him? And Rhonda came, I can't think of her last name. Rhonda actually came to the trial, like as the public, because Tory signed a stipulation to substitute as counsel. She was going to take over his case. Let's see. Think of her name, because I talked to her in the hallway. Oh, let me pull up. I know Megan Cuniff talked about it. See, it's been so many little things that have happened in this case. So I'm going to pull up. This is an article from Megan Cuniff. I know many of you guys have heard of her. She's like been the lead person that tweets as soon as it happens. So new attorney plans to seek Tory Lanez release from jail over Meg Thee Stallion shooting. So she did this article July 12th. So as you see right here, there is a substitution of counsel down here where Rhonda Dixon was going to take over from Matthew Bahama. He was the local person. So rapper Tory Lanez will be in court today in Los Angeles for a hearing related to a lawyer seeking to join his case. Rhonda Dixon wants to replace Matthew Barhoma as counsel for Lanez, who is in jail awaiting an August 7th sentencing for the shooting of rapper Megan Thee Stallion in the feet and injuring her 3 years ago today. Lane's legal name, Daystar Peterson, signed a substitution of counsel on June 27th, as did Barhoma and Dixon. But Dixon said in a phone interview Tuesday night that Los Angeles County Superior Judge David Hereford had not authorized the substitution. A hearing is scheduled today at 4:15 in Hereford's courtroom in downtown LA. Dixon believes Hereford must allow her to join the case because of Lanez's Sixth Amendment right to counsel. She said Lanez wants her to work under his current lawyer, prominent Miami attorney Jose Baez, but, quote, me and him have some serious issues because he won't talk to me, end quote. So she was going to come in as local counsel, but she said he won't even talk to her. Quote, these guys are just taking advantage of Lanez, end quote, Dixon told Legal Affairs and Trials. Quote, they've had him sign powers of attorneys. They're acting on his behalf and they're not really asking him what he wants, end quote. Dixon shared a copy of a motion she drafted that argues Lanez is being subject to cruel and unusual punishment in jail because he's in isolation due to his celebrity status. Quote, because Mr. Peterson has viable meritorious post-conviction litigation, this court should award bail. The unconstitutional nature of his confinement provides ample justification according to the motion. Peterson's conviction is not punishable by death because he will apply for probation, file an appeal, and pursue additional post-conviction remedies. This court should admit him bail within the court's discretion. Dixon said he recently met with Lanez in jail. His eyes were black. He was totally despondent. He told me he wanted to go to state prison. I said, you want to go to state prison? Why? He said, at least I'll be able to go out in the yard and talk to people, Dixon said. That upset me. I don't think he's guilty. She wrote in her motion, quote, merely because he is well known, the sheriff has decided that Mr. Peterson is of such great threat that he must be confined in the same manner as those convicted of serial charges and, unaliving. Dixon says she wants Lanez released from jail as she pursues a new trial for evidentiary areas and other issues she said violates the California Racial Justice Act, a law passed in 2020 that allows for exonerations over racism in legal proceedings. She also cited the new California law regarding use of criminal defendants' artistic expressions as evidence. Judge Hereford has already rejected Barhoma's and Baez's argument that he shouldn't have said prosecutors could question Lanez about the music video to his song Cap, which features the rapper dressed as a butcher and chopping horse feet. The judge pointed out that the new law doesn't prohibit questions about songs or other art. It only changes the balancing test that judges must consider when deciding whether to allow the questions. Dixon's motion, though, describes the law an all-out ban. Without the threat of questions about his music, Lanez would have testified, and it is our strong belief that this would have changed the outcome of this case, according to Dixon. So they believe that, but Tory Lanez did not testify, and this is what they've been going with this because they were told his music could be used against him. So that's supposed to be the only reason why he didn't testify. But they believe if Tory testified, then I guess the jury would have believed him and that he would have been acquitted. So the motion that she's talking about, according to this article at this time, the motion does not appear to have been filed yet. Dixon said Baez doesn't want her to file it, but she feels it has merit. So Baez told her, like, no, buddy, don't file this motion. Quote, he has to be shackled and he has to be accompanied by a sheriff and 2 deputies to move, Dixon said. He told me he hadn't seen daylight in 4 months, that they didn't take him to the day yard at all, that's doing something to his psyche. Hereford and May rejected a motion for new trial brought by Barhoma and Baez. that argue much of what Dixon alleges regarding trial errors. Los Angeles County Deputy District Attorney Alexander Bott and Kathy Todd did not immediately return an email seeking comment on Wednesday, but they've opposed sentencing delays and want him sentenced to 13 years. We know all that. Dixon's draft motion argues Lanez, who will be 31 on July 27th, is not at risk to flee. The fact that he is a public figure makes it more likely that he would not flee. She also said Lanez is not a danger to the community. Prosecutors, however, have basically described Lanez as a societal menace. They want his use of a firearm and the great bodily harm he caused Megan to be aggravating factors in his sentence, saying in May 23rd motion, the crimes, blah, blah, blah. Okay, they go over that. At that time, they hadn't even. Dixon, wait a minute. This is it. Dixon told Legal Affairs that Barhoma charged Lanez $90,000 for that asinine brief referring to the appellate writ seeking Hereford's recusal. She said Lanez has only paid him $40,000 so far, and Barhoma was declining to send her case material because of the debt. What he's paid his attorney so far is unreal. It's unimaginable. They were only concerned about getting paid, Dixon said. She said Barhoma attempts to recuse Hereford were all conceived in order to cover up their own ineptitude. They lied to him and blamed it all on the judge, Dixon said. Reached by email on Wednesday, Barhoma said Dixon's statements are false. None of it is true. And Ron Dixon has all case material for Mr. Baez and I, he said. Baez has not returned an email seeking comment. Dixon said today's hearing was pushed to 4:15 to accommodate Baez's schedule, which she said is not in Lanez's best interest because he'll be transported to the courthouse from jail during standard transfer times, then forced to wait in a holding cell until it's time to appear before Hereford. I told Jose Baez off, Dixon said. I said, you know, your client is the one who has to sit handcuffed all day. That's why Baez was like, nah, Rhonda, you can't. Dixon has been a licensed attorney in California since 88, so it gives her background. She said, I know what I'm doing and I know what I'm talking about. She said, I'm going to keep coming like a Mack truck with 2 trains behind it, okay? I don't play. Then she go about all the Lanez stuff. Oh, God. Here's all the stuff on So what ended up happening is, for those of you that don't know, they went to court and essentially Rhonda went, and from what I was told now, Rhonda Dixon, who was trying to be the attorney, went to court, and for this hearing at 4:15 that day, she went and talked to Lanez because allegedly, I guess she had a client that was housed with Lanez who referred his attorney and said, Lanez, hey, you need to talk to my attorney. She know what she doing. And so that's how she was going to get involved. But then what had happened was Baez wasn't feeling her, especially the way it sounded like she was talking to him. He was like, oh, no, that's not going to work. Because you see the substitution of counsel. So she was going to substitute as the local counsel because Barhama is kind of new too. He's new. So I don't know how long he's been practicing, but he hasn't been practicing that long. So to get a seasoned person from 19 that's been practicing since 88, that sounds about right. She, and she seemed like she knew what she was talking about when I was talking to her. But it sounded like she was calling Baez out. And so he ain't like that. So they go to court and she talks to Lanez. And then I guess that she comes out. And then I guess Baez talked to Lanez and he came with a whole different attorney that ended up getting on board that was a little bit more seasoned, and Rhonda never became the attorney. So she came out and was like, basically, I guess that Tory listened to what Baez and them had to say, and then she never became the attorney. So it's been so much drama in this case, y'all. So She never came in. The judge had never accepted her substitution of counsel. So she never was on the case. So she didn't do any work. And again, I believe she saw him when she was going to see a whole nother client. No, Michi gonna depend. Listen, Michi's gonna stick by it now. He free everybody. We just, that's how we started talking to Michi. We were like, free Melly, what? He free everybody. He Well, one thing Rhonda Dixon did say when I talked to her, she said she told Jose Baez, this is her, Jose, so don't come for me. She said she told him that he needed to be doing this in conjunction with a immigration attorney, which I wholeheartedly believe. I thought he had one on there already since everybody knew that he is not from the United States. And I want to say Jose Baez, when he did that press conference, because he's done press conferences now. You guys know he's the first one they setting out the microphones and he coming outside to do his press conference. He said that he's going to have to talk to an immigration attorney. So it doesn't appear that one was being, like, their strategy didn't already include an immigration attorney. Why wait so late to change lawyers, especially after you've been sure you just wasting money for no. Now, Rhonda said that she does appeals, and she was telling me her background on doing appellate work. So if you're going to get another attorney, it should be a post-conviction or appellate attorney. So I agree with that. Yeah. You said he should have listened to Sean Holly admitted guilt and pleaded guilty. He probably would. I don't know if, I would assume it'll probably be a permanent ban for immigration purposes, but he probably wouldn't have gotten that if he would have pled to something. But again, people are saying he shouldn't plead because they feel like he didn't do it. And he's saying he didn't do it. He's maintaining his innocence. So, well, it's Sunday. YNW Sun Star. You said son daddy low key got him more time. Well, he apologized. You should have seen when his daddy came up there and was like, Your Honor, Jose Baez said, is there anything that you would like to say to the judge? He said, Your Honor, first of all, I don't know if this is appropriate, but I just wanted to apologize because the Bible tells you in Romans 13 that you're supposed to submit to authority. And when I came after you and I was loud in your courtroom, I shouldn't have done so. And so I just want you to accept my apology. And the judge was just like this. He ain't stopped. Like, he ain't smirked. He looked just like this the whole time. He had like zero facial expression. I'm like, how does this man not have any? You guys talk about me not having facial expressions. This man has zero facial expressions. It's crazy. It's like, whatever. While he had it probably right next to his gavel. He already had 10 years next to his gavel. Hey, son. What you missed the whole live, Amir? What you talking about? You missed hitting that like button. If you have not hit that like button on your way in, hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. I see a lot of new people. I hope you guys are coming out the bushes. I appreciate you guys chatting with us. We talking about Melly and we talked about Tory. We talked about bond issues and where we are. Rhonda blamed it on Megan. Yeah. Well, what had happened was she said she told me. Now, Rhonda Dixon said it when we were talking in the hallway. She said she talked to Megan Cuniff and she believed that that's what pissed them off. That is true. So I was trying to get Rhonda to come on here because she has some very interesting things to say, but she probably like, lady, you ain't about to be making them more mad at me than they are. Because Megan Cuniff, according to Megan, Rhonda contacted her to give her this information that she was going to be substituting in. and gave her this interview. So Jose Baez was not pleased, especially like, look what she's saying. They wasting his money. You charged all this money for this asinine motion that you knew wasn't going, hit. Or maybe Tory ain't gonna ask for any. Thank you so much, Laversa. I appreciate the cash up. Maybe Tory not gonna ask for bail. What you think? Maybe you think he having a come to Jesus moment, and he's just like, you know what? Let me just not even ask for bond. Nah, that ain't gonna happen. But they definitely had a date that was scheduled for yesterday that did not happen. So I don't know what that's about. Jose, you gonna have to get into it, Jose. You gonna have to you have to file the motions if you got paid for it. You call a cat? What? If I was on the case, Ronald Lucas, this would have looked like a whole different situation. I have made some of the best deals that people have ever probably have never seen in their life, because all you can do is tell me no. I have literally had clients that they was caught on video, but I'm still gonna ask for what I'm gonna ask for and come up with some creativity if you show some type of contrition and you show that you are sorry. There are so many things that you can do, or even if it went to trial, I would have did it a whole different way, because it's up to your client. He might be adamant on going to trial, and you can't make someone plea. It's ultimately up to them. You can't coerce them. You can't make promises. You can't do any of that. So if you get into a case, just know you may feel it's in your client's best interest to plea, but you better come up with something really, really good that entices them, because some of them really feel like, and if they feel like they can beat the system, they just do. And it seems like with Tory, he had a GUN charge in the past, and it was in a diversion program. So that basically means like it never happened. Jose going back to Florida. He not gonna do anything else until Tory pay him more money. It feels it's a whole bunch of work for lawyers. That is true. Yes, I'm not an embryonic attorney. I've been doing this for a little bit. If you was on the case, you'll probably quit because he wouldn't listen like with his first lawyer. Now he paid me enough. Shoot, listen. They were able to convince him not to testify, so he clearly listened, because he seems like one that probably would have been adamant on testifying. So he does. What he did was, I do believe that he found lawyers that were willing to go with his theory. Our job is to say no, like how Sean Holly did, and you put it in writing. I thought Sean Holly got it in writing. Like, no, that theory that you're trying to do with Kelsey, that's just not gonna work. Now, if that driver would have showed up and corroborated some of that, that would have changed the whole trajectory of this case. But that's not what happened. So Lamar said if Tory had good counsel during a trial, he would have beat it. He had ineffective counsel, which he will win his appeals on. You keep thinking ineffective assistance of counsel is easy to win, because they're not. Ineffective assistance of counsel, and I want you, when that comes back, I want you to remember what I said, Lamar. They're going to say that was trial strategy, and that the court will not usurp the authority of a lawyer and try to tell them how they should have tried their case. That's what they're going to say when it comes to ineffective. Ineffective is very, very difficult. Now, if there's something like, for instance, there were some alibi witnesses that said, I have a videotape of Tory. He did not do it. I was looking out my window. He did not do it. I seen that it was in the hand of Kelsey. If they have straight up witnesses like that, his attorney knew it, didn't put them on the stand, that would be ineffective, because there's just nothing to justify you not putting people on the stand. That would just flat out, exonerate your client. So that's the type of stuff. But other than that, you'll be surprised at what we would say was ineffective because of what we would do, their lack of research, lack of interviewing people, lack of putting people on the stand, because you have to look at it. The defense does not have the burden. In theory, they can sit down with their fingers crossed, their hands folded like this, and not say anything because they don't have the burden. Of course, you don't do that because you're not just going to let the prosecution say whatever and not poke holes in it. Their job is to put on the case, and your job is to poke holes in it and make reasonable doubt. But ineffective is not as easy as people think it is, because hell, lawyers wouldn't want to practice if every time they come up with a strategy you can always do ineffective assistance of counsel. That's, that's just like with police officers, why they give them qualified immunity when you sue them, and you have to overcome certain hurdles because there are prosecutors have absolute immunity. So like, if they're doing work within their judicial job, then they, of course there's exceptions to everything. And I found them because I have won some cases on, and bypass qualified immunity and absolute. But I'm just saying, like, it would literally, lawyers would say, I'm not about to be taking these cases and these folks are going to sue me. And my malpractice is going to go up because every time you get sued, your malpractice is going to go up. Every time somebody says it's ineffective, your malpractice will go up. Like, Instead, his own driver showed up and said he was going to testify that Kelsey didn't do. That's what Andrea said. She got that information from somebody. And they didn't poke one hole. Yeah. All right, y'all. It's 10 o'clock. We've been on for over an hour. I know I owe you guys a video on Trump and some of the people that are in the indictment. One of them very specific that I wanted to talk about was Kanye West's publicist was indicted. And I want to go over that hopefully tomorrow about noon. So if you guys can meet me back here, I'm not promising though, because that's just a hope. But that indictment is 100 pages. 100. It's like 95 pages. So I can't read all that on here. So we got to pick and choose. Kelsey and Tory both had GSR. The witness said Kelsey and Meg was fighting, and Kelsey went back to the car. Ain't that reasonable doubt? Kelsey and Tory both had GSR. Kelsey definitely had GSR, but she also had Meg in the back seat with her foot on her, and she was touching all over Meg. The witness said Kelsey and Meg was fighting, okay, and Kelsey went back in the car. What does that have to do with the gun being hot by Tory in his hands allegedly? Because that same witness also said that the muzzle shots that he saw were by the little guy, which was Tory Lanez. What does this evidence that you're mentioning? Thank you so much for the super chat, though. I appreciate it, Bars. But what does this have to do with who actually pulled the trigger and the bullets that were found in Meg's feet? Thank you, Tori. I appreciate it. Now you done paid the $4.99 super chat, so I need you to answer that. Like, what, based on what you've sent, like, why would you think that's reasonable doubt for what? What if they was fighting? Let's just say they were fighting and it was proven. They both denied it. The guy said it happened. Maybe it did happen. What if it did happen? What does that have to do with Tory actually pounding her in her feet? Those are like apples and oranges in my mind. Come on, Bars. Come on now. We winding down here. You see the numbers dropping. Come on. We trying to get out of here. But I want to make sure I answer your question that we're clear. Why you think that they got anything to do with reasonable doubt as to the actual charges that Tory was convicted of? Okay. He said muzzle, and you're gonna play a super chat for everything. Thank you so much. He said muzzle flash came from the woman first in transcripts. Enough super chats for me. Gotta pay child support. You don't have to pay super chats, but I appreciate it, Bar. Well, he actually in the transcripts he did say in the car there was a flash, which would have been near where the one, but he saw the little guy get out and he was almost just shooting, like he saw him like he was shooting. So it was about the jury. And then Meg was a witness who was very, everything he said was vague. He said it was an object in his hand, and we're talking about Sean Kelly. He said it was an object in his hand, and he didn't say, hold on one second, guys. Hold on. Child, I hear all this thumping. I'm like, is she supposed to be in the bed? What is this? Anyway, that's how I know it's time for me to get off of here. But yeah, what he said, what Sean Kelly was saying was that he was very vague. So he was saying that he saw a fight and they were going to put the girl in the little river strip. It wasn't like a real big river, but it was like a little area, kind of like a sewage line, I guess, strip that catches water. I don't know. But he said that it was a flash that was, but first he saw a flash by the girls, then he saw the little guy with an object in his hand, and he said he saw the flashes. So that was just, he didn't put it in their hands. He just said he saw a flash by them, but he put an object in Tory's hand and he talked about all the flashes. But then then you have Meg that pointed him out as being the person who did it. That is direct evidence, a witness saying that. So I'm not sure. To me, there was some reasonable doubt that I thought was in the beginning until there was cross-examination and it just wiped it away for me. But look, we're not going to debate this. Not to wait till he in jail getting ready for prison. Well, dang, Toria. Well, child, we gonna have to debate this till folk don't want to debate it. Because if they don't do it on here, you know they're gonna do it in my comments. Because we can't say Sean Kelly is telling the truth about it, but lying about the fight and those girls fought each other. Okay. I'm cool with that too. I think I mean, I could see somebody popping somebody when they found out y'all was messing with the same person. I mean, when I was in my 20s, I probably would have bust my best friend in the eye if I would have found out that they did that. So it's not far-fetched. Right. Toria said enough is enough. Demetrius, how's the baby? We have a YNW baby Michi coming. How is the baby doing? Is everything going well? Because we have to have our virtual baby shower. Let me see. No, she needs to free herself and give it up and just close those eyes and go zzz. That's what she needs to do. She's been up since early this morning. It's ridiculous. Twins? What? Michi. Shout out to you. We got some intellect twins on the way. Well, congratulations, Michi. Congratulations to you. That is so dope. I wonder if the fight scene was Tory and the friend fighting. I thought about that too. But heck, they were in the dark. I probably would have been nosy if that happened like below my window, because I'm born in Detroit. Well, I'm not born in Detroit, but I was raised in Detroit since I was like in elementary school. So I probably, gunshots don't necessarily scare me. I know that sounds weird. Might need therapy. But I probably would have been nosy. I would have been such a good eyewitness. Because if that would have happened and I was on a balcony and that was below, I'd look. I'm telling you, I'd have been looking. I'd have been like the one in the red with the red hat, the girl right there with the weave. I'd have been able to describe everybody so good. But I think with him, he was probably trying to be nosy. Then he heard the gunshots and was like, oh, shucks. Because it was, a non-melanin guy. He probably was like, oh, shucks. And he just like went and tried to protect his son. He said he went in his son's room, told him to get down and all of that. Then they found like bullets in the yard, I think the next day. He said Detroit people would be looking at the window, asking me how I know. That's what I said. I was like, we sit there when they finally made firecrackers legal. We sit there like, dang, is that a gunshot or firecrackers? And we really just sit there like, is that gunfire? It's sad, but it's true. You go to other states and you like, that's supposed to be gangster? Like, I done seen it all. What are you talking about? I am from the D. Yes, I agree. He said, you about like me. I'm from Miami. So when I went to the army, I already had PTSD. How are you doing, too? You doing okay, Libertina? Everything going well with you, sis? Listen, nosy. I'll be able to tell everything they have on. I'm not joking. They left with a black car. The license plate number is MM2577. Man, you talking about nosy? When the DA investigator spoke to Sean Kelly, per the transcript, he said the girl from the back seat opened the front door and shot. Hmm. So why didn't they? So assuming that's true, oh gosh, that happened. Then why didn't the defense impeach her on that information? Meaning, when she got on the stand and when they asked her, did you shoot Meg? Kelsey unequivocally said no, she did not. That's probably one of the only answers that she was straight up with, because we all know she was on that BS when she got on the stand. She said no. If that's the truth and there is a transcript, I don't know what transcript you're talking about because I ain't see that in the trial. But if you're talking about like some previous transcript where he may have testified, because there's a lot of hearings, if that's in a transcript, why wasn't he impeached on that information? Why wasn't Kelsey? I'm sorry, not Kelsey, but why wouldn't Sean Kelly be impeached on that investigation, on that information? I'm mixing them up with Kelsey. Sorry. Scratch all that I said. If this is true, why didn't they, when they cross-examined Sean Kelly, meaning the defense, why didn't they say, isn't it true that you said that the girlfriend in the back seat is the one that opened the door and she shot? Isn't it true that you said it? So were you telling the truth then, or are you telling it now? And then they say, no, I didn't say that. If I showed you a transcript, showed you something to refresh your recollection, would this refresh your recollection? And then, he should have been called out on that if that happened. I don't recall that happening. That doesn't mean it didn't, because there was a lot going on in that trial. In transcripts, Holly said, Tory said, I was just trying to protect my girl. Who is Sean Holly? You talking about the preliminary exam. Okay. In transcripts, Holly said, Tory said. Are you saying, do you mean Sean Kelly said that Tory said? Because are you saying Sean Holly, like his attorney? I was just trying to protect my girl. I'm so confused. I did not read the preliminary exam transcript, so I don't know about that. I just sat for the trial. Right. Don't be giving us all the baby's money, okay? I appreciate every blessing, but don't give us the baby's money. Yeah, but you know, I'ma see your I'm not reading now, so I'll actually see your comments bars. You don't really have to super chat everything, even though we'll take it. But read it. Sean Holly said that. So Sean Holly don't testify. Sean Holly is the attorney. So what matter what Sean Holly has to say? Not being funny. What we say as an attorney, I put we in there, does not matter. It's what the evidence that you can prove. Don't you that is not an excuse. If you go in front of a judge and say, Your Honor, the reason why that I cannot pay my child support is because I was out there hanging out with Pam and the intellects and I wanted her to read my comments. So I put it in a super chat. So I gave her the money that I was supposed to give to my baby mama on the super chats. That is not an argument. You will get in trouble and you might get locked up. So I just need you to hold them super chats and buy that baby some diapers and some formula. You also have to think about it. It would have been easier on Meg to say that the girl shot her. She would have any backlash and nobody would have cared. I agree. I definitely agree with that. And it's strange. Everything about that whole situation was just strange between Meg and Kelsey. And Meg, you can just tell, in my opinion, she never really wanted to come forward. That's just my opinion. But right, exactly. You can't be talking about Pam said that all I gotta do is Pam. You better say Pam said keep them super chats so I can pay my child support. Sean Holly knows most people don't understand what lawyers say is not evidence. She said a whole bunch of stuff, so it would be in transcript because she knew it would be misconstrued to most. Andre, do you have the transcript to the preliminary exam? Because I want to see it. I'm interested. Because I didn't really see anybody impeach anybody with that transcript. I don't recall anybody using that preliminary exam transcript, which really is the purpose of even holding the exam, because you want to lock down testimony. Because a lot of people waive preliminary examinations because sometimes when you do preliminary examinations, they'll up your charges. And I believe Tory's got up. I mean, they didn't up it, but they added one. So sometimes it's worse. It goes against you instead of for you. So I just want to see the transcript. I'm not willing to pay for it though. So show me where I can get a free one. Tory done got enough money out of me. You got some of it? Okay. Yeah. So anyway, guys, thank you guys again for hanging out. I've been trying to get off here for the last 30 minutes. But I like kicking it with you guys. Once I get started, it's just hard to stop. Again, hit that like if you haven't done so. I think Meg didn't want to say anything because of how embarrassing it was for her to have a falling out with her best friend over community pain. Well, according to Tory, now he engaged to his baby mama. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Tory. And then the whole incident was allegedly because Meg was mad about him flirting with Kylie. Now that's something that even EJ, who was the assistant who came to Kylie's house with them, said that Meg was mad because he was flirting with Kylie. So Tory was out here living his best life. Now he engaged. Now that he doing 10 years, now you want to put a ring on it. Man, bye. Trying to get you a constant visitor. Okay, thank you. All right, y'all. If you guys don't have any more questions or comments, I'm out of here. Thank you so much again, Michi. Good to see you, man. Haven't seen you. You better start stopping by a little bit more than what you've been doing. Thank you, Tori, Libertina, all of you guys, Ronald, Jay, Andre, you guys for your consistent support of this channel. I appreciate it so much. PN2 Ross, you guys been over here supporting your girl, so I don't have to talk to myself. And I love y'all for it. HFG, thank you. Natty, thank you so much. And yeah, I'm out of here for real. You guys know you got to bop to my son on your way out. I hope you guys have a fabulous night, and I'm going to try my hardest with all of my might to come on tomorrow. Gotta go.
Yeah. So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest, not a bit of complice or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge, they don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like, wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because their agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifting. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.